Well, cheers, Craig. I gotta say, spending our entire Old Man Time production budget on a vacation to Cuba, one of our best decisions yet.
Fully agree, Craig. And hey, one of the most important things about being on vacation is being relaxed, refreshed, and well rested.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I know we're on vacation, but I think it's a great idea. Let's do it.
Hey, I'm Craig.
And I'm Craig. And in this episode, we come to you from the Playa Cayo Santa Maria in Cuba.
But maybe you don't have to come this far to feel refreshed and rested. Maybe you just have sleep apnea.
In this episode, we'll talk about sleep apnea, what it is, some of the remedies, how you get tested. Stick around, it's going to be a real snooze fest. Huh?
Two fellas hanging out, it's Old Man Time with Craig and Craig. So this episode's dedicated to our wives who said, hey, you should make a Old Man Time about the boring old man stuff you actually talk about, like your CPAP machines. So this one's for you ladies.
It's true. So yeah, I had my CPAP. I couldn't believe it. I just had to look it up. I've had it almost 7 years. Shocking. You've had yours about 3, is that
About
right?
3 years.
3 years, you know. What made you think you needed to go get one?
Well, my wife said, you know, your snoring is getting louder and louder and worse. And sometimes you snore, it gets really loud, and then you stop breathing and snort, wake yourself up. And you're doing it more and more. Maybe you should go talk to the doctor. Yourself?
Yeah. Similar, and also I had, we had just had our first kid, so I was sleeping a lot less in general and needed it to count. So I talked to my doctor, same kind of symptoms, and referred me for a sleep study. We took it from there.
Okay, so we both got prescribed, hey, you guys should go do, not together, but you should go do a sleep study. You should go to the hospital. They put you up overnight, hook a whole bunch of stuff up to you. Craig will talk about that. So what are they looking for when they send you to the hospital for a sleep study? Sleep apnea is just one of the things on the menu that they're testing for. They're looking for things like restless leg syndrome, could be causing disruption in your sleep. It could be REM sleep disorders. Any number of things. So they wire you all up. And Craig, tell us how the evening kind of goes there at the hospital or at the sleep clinic.
Yeah, you show up, usually around bedtime. Appointment, I think for me was like 9 or 10 p.m. Bring your favorite pillow, maybe your favorite stuffed animal if you have one, whatever's going to help you get to sleep. They're going to connect a whole bunch of probes to your head. You would think in 2024, when we're recording this video, that those would be wireless or Bluetooth. No, they're all a bunch of cables that are going to choke you out when you roll around in bed when you sleep, which is what happened to me. I didn't actually choke out, but anyway. So you get all set up. Helps a lot if you have a hairstyle like me and Dub here, because a little less glue in the hair. But you're going to get hooked up in the head, all around the chest, your legs for the restless leg syndrome that W mentioned already. And you're going to try to go to sleep. And they're going to be measuring. They got everything all hooked up. They're getting all of this data to see how you're sleeping, monitor your brain, all this activity. And you wake up in the morning, and then you'll get you sometimes get results right away. In my case, they said, hey, you're either going to have no sleep apnea and be sent home, you're going to have sleep apnea and be referred back to come see your doctor another time, or you're going to be told, hey, you got real bad sleep apnea, go get a machine right now. That was my case. What were your results like?
Okay. Mine was, she said, I went to the doctor a couple days later to get the results. She said, yeah, you're waking up about every 2 minutes. And I said, well, is that bad? Should I get a machine? She's like, well, wouldn't you like to not be waking yourself up every 2 minutes? And not even noticing. Like, sometimes I'll wake myself up like, oh, I noticed I must have been snoring, I've woken up. No, it's every 2 minutes and you don't even notice. Then I went home and read a little bit more about some of the longer term effects of sleep apnea. So that's things like a greater chance of stroke and heart disease. This can be taking years off of your life if you're waking yourself up every 2 minutes through the course of the night. So I got myself signed up as well. We both ended up with CPAP machines. So maybe in our next little segment here, we'll do a little bit of show and tell and show you how that stuff works.
Right on. Okay, we're back. We'll have a little walkthrough of the gear. Just like I never go to Cuba without my own ketchup, I never leave home without my CPAP. Even sleeping one night without this bad boy, I'm not as functional the next day for sure. So this is a common machine. There's a lot of different ones out there. This isn't a travel version or anything. This is the ResMed AirSense 10 Elite, actually. And yeah, I think this is a fairly common one, but a few little things to know about it is that there's a little humidifier over here, And this just pops out, and you add distilled water into that. So that's another thing to consider is you need to travel with that stuff. So sometimes I'll bring it in a smaller bottle. They come in like big 4-liter bottles. You have the hose that connects to the mask. This is an upgraded hose. It has like it has humidity protection somehow. Anyway, I don't know. It keeps it from like getting any condensation in there. So that's a worthwhile upgrade. And this is my mask. This is the Philips Dreamwear. And what's nice about this one is it is kind of a minimalist mask. You'll see down at the bottom here, there's a hole where the air can come in. And, I'll give you the fashion show. Just kind of goes up over the head, get it in place. And that little hole that I showed you goes right out of my nose. And as soon as I start breathing in through my nose, you'll see this bad boy fire up. There it goes. So it's working to the adjusted pressure, whatever it is that it's set for your specific scenario. Everybody has a different setting based on their level of obstructive sleep apnea that they're diagnosed with, and you work with the people to dial that in. But yeah, there's a little filter that you change. Actually, this is the data port. The filter's over here. These little white things in here. Change those out every once in a while. That one will be ready to change when I get home. But that's really about it. It comes in a nice travel bag, but I will say, I've contemplated upgrading to a travel version that would be more compact and easier to bring on trips. But I think when you get to see W's setup, that might be a really good trip solution too. And how long did it take me to get used to it? I was really lucky that I got used to this really fast. Pretty much the first night but within the first week, I was wearing it all night. First few nights, it was like I'd wear it for a few hours and then kind of get annoying, I'd take it off. It didn't take me too long to get used to. I know there's other folks out there that have really struggled to get used to it. And even after a few months, then there's all of a sudden they're getting less sleep because of the CPAP. So you want to talk to your provider about that and see what other options, maybe a different mask. This, like I say, is a minimalist mask. It's a nose mask only. There are also full face masks. So those are your options.
Okay, so on to my show and tell. The first thing I'll mention though is both Craig and I have a type of sleep apnea called obstructive sleep apnea, and that's one of a few different kinds. There are other kinds like when your brain doesn't send the right signals to keep you breathing at night. That's a different situation. But in both our cases, what happens is when our throat relaxes, gosh, that's windy. When our throat relaxes, it closes our airways, and so in Craig's case, it pushes air into his throat and keeps his airway open, and in my case, it achieves that same thing just through a different means. So what I've got is called a mandibular device. I did start out with Craig's machine. I have one of those at home, but especially because I travel a fair bit, including if you go on a canoe trip or if in my camper van, I find it kind of hard, or to source, as Craig mentioned, source your distilled water wherever it is that you end up. So this is all that my solution is, so it travels easily in your backpack. It's called a mandibular device, and you get kitted out with this through a dentist that specializes in sleep apnea, basically. So I went to a dentist who was trained in that in Ottawa at Clyde Dental, and worked with her to get sized up for basically a set of retainers. And you'll see some of these on Facebook or elsewhere on the internet for cheaper, but all of this stuff is really specialized, so it's worth working with professionals like dentists to get sized up for this. I actually did an extra sleep study after I'd been fitted with this to make sure they were working correctly. So it's worth your while to go work with the right folks and make sure that you're getting the right solution. So all that this is, we took a couple of molds of my teeth, both top and bottom. I've got a retainer that basically goes on my bottom teeth. I've got another retainer that goes into my top of my mouth. And when I have those in place, and it actually came with a set of about 5 different retainers, and you figure out just how much you need to adjust your lower jaw and bring it forward so that that airway doesn't close when you're trying to sleep. And so in my case, we settled on, I think it's about 2 millimeters that my jaw gets pushed forward. And the way that that's achieved is my top retainer here has a little nub on it. Now when I close my mouth with my bottom retainer, you'll see it can't move back anywhere past that sort of point. And that's all that keeps my jaw pushed forward just enough to keep my airway open. So I pop this in when I go to bed, or I can pop it in on the airplane or wherever. I can go to sleep wherever I like. Ta-da! And now the one other piece that it comes with, because it does have your lower jaw pushing forward all night long and you want to make sure your teeth remain aligned, is it comes with another little single retainer, and you pop this in for about 10 minutes during the daytime every day, which will reset where your teeth meet and ensure that your jaw doesn't come out of alignment. And they also gave me a little sheet of jaw exercises and sort of massages you can do on your jaw muscles to make sure that things don't get out of whack over time. But that's all there is to that. Okay folks, that about wraps it up for another episode of Old Man Time. We know this one was a little more serious than some of our usual goofy episodes. We promise to get back to those soon. But we hope, and I'm telling you one other thing, is we're not doctors. We just told you about our experiences, but we hope that we've inspired you. If you seem to have issues with being tired all the time, or if your partner complains that you're snoring, we hope we've inspired you. You see your doctor, get that stuff checked out, won't you?
Well said, Craig. Hey, I think it's time for a round of drinks. What are you feeling? Rum punch? Mojito, maybe?
Or a cold beer.
Oh my gosh, it's Rob, the guy from episode 5, the beer shade. You know what? Beer sounds great.
Cerveza time. Hey, before we let you go, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you for the next episode.
Hey Rob, you ever had a sleep study?
No, what's that?
Oh man, we got a YouTube video you gotta watch.
How do you use this tiny television?
It's Old Man Time. Cheers, Craig. That was a big moan. I don't even moan like that.
Maybe you just have sleep apnea. And we're gonna talk about some of the...
My lines
You
just can't figure out how to turn this off.
How to turn off that, just keep it from dying. There's no light or anything.